assist us on that basis. Senator Walsh, you have the call.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr Marshall and all your colleagues that are there for us today. Just a couple of questions on trends in your staffing levels, so your direct CSIRO employees. Are you able to tell me how many actual full-time equivalent staff you had at June 30, 2021, and what that equivalent figure would be as close as at today as possible?
And Senator, Mr Maynard will give you that information. Just want to make sure I give you the right answer. So you're not looking at all of the people CSIRO employ, you're just looking at the ones that are direct employment on our payroll and in FTE, full-time equivalent?
Yeah, that's right. Your actual direct employees, yep.
Right.
Senator Tom Maynard, Acting
g'day.
Chief Operations Officer. So our full-time equivalent as at 30th of June 2021 was 4,949.
And what is it? 4,499?
4,949.
4,949. And as at today?
Let me just check that figure. So our data as at 31st of December 2021 is 5,032.
5,032. And was there a change to your ASL cap? Was your cap lifted during the pandemic or something?
So our ASL
similar?
estimate in 2021 was 5,351, and for 21,
sorry.
5,351.
Yep.
And for the 21-22 year, it is 5,414.
5,414.
Yep.
So as at today, you're about 400 below your ASL cap.
That's correct,
for your
Senator.
direct CSIRO employees. Dr Marshall, can you just give us some insights into why that would be the case, that you'd be reasonably significantly under your cap in terms of direct employment?
Well, Senator, I can. There's a number of modes of employment at CSIRO, and not all of them are direct and on payroll. We have affiliates and other mechanisms. But we tend to shape the organisation with the skills that we need to suit whatever challenges we think Australia is going to face, and get the scientific expertise that we need. So we've been going through a number of shifts, for example, around the modern manufacturing strategy or around AI, and you may have seen with a number of recruiting campaigns going on at the moment to recruit talent. But of course, recruiting has been incredibly difficult during COVID, and so we're probably a little bit behind where we would otherwise want to be. But we don't try to get to the max of our ASL cap. We try to choose the talent that we need for the problems that we solve.
Okay. And when I asked the question about your direct actual FTE employees, you mentioned the concept of another number, which might include sort of all the people that you would describe to be, you know, working for you in various modes. I assume that includes independent contractors and labour hire and so on. Is that where you were going with that?
Well, actually, a little bit broader, Senator. We also have a lot of students and postdocs,
Yeah.
some of whom are employed through the university, but they work on our site with us. And we can do postdocs. We can do either way. We can employ them directly, or we can employ them through a university. It really just depends what's best for them and for us and for the university. So when you add those numbers, it gets a little bit larger, depending on how you define it.
And so without taking our time to go through all of that, what's the sort of headline number that you have in mind when you're including all of those people?
Oh, gee. Tom, you might have to help me out here.
So, Senator, if you're talking about all of our affiliates, you can talk somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 people.
An additional 3,000
2,000 to 3,000 people. That are,
Okay. No problems. We may come back with some questions on notice based on that, but I won't go through it now. But your answer to why you might be about 400 under the ASL cap is partly in relation to recruiting challenges in the current environment, and partly in relation to you may choose to do it a different way depending on what your priorities are.
That's
Right.
correct, Senator.
Yes, yes, Senator.
Okay. Just another question around the number of projects that you've done in COVID. You know, you've had a special sort of role in relation to providing advice during the pandemic. Do you have a number of reports that you've published in that special role that you've had during COVID?
You know, there's a range of them, Senator. That's why I'm hesitating, because we did reports on economic recovery. We did reports on, I think we even did a hydrogen report for aviation during that time. So there's a number of them that relate to recovery from the pandemic, but that's probably not answering the question you're asking.
That's okay, because that just gives us a little bit more insight into how you sort of view things that we could put on notice. So would you normally expect that government would sort of formally respond to those sorts of reports that you've done, for example, on economic recovery? And did they respond?
Senator, we generally engage with our department on these things if they relate to things that the government would be needing or wanting to look at.
So just on a sort of informal basis, you might be in a meeting about something and engaging rather than sort of getting a formal response.
Yeah, it depends on what it is, Senator, but our engagement it's far more frequent for us to engage with the department directly.
Yep.
Since we're in that department.